Admiral Jake Morrison stood quietly on the bridge of the UES Guardian. The ship looked old and beaten up from the outside. Paint was peeling off the hull. Several gun turrets were missing. Anyone who saw this ship would think it was barely working. That was exactly what Jake wanted them to think. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers.
Ow.
Jake looked out at the stars through the big window. He had been playing this game for 3 long years. Every day he had to pretend that Earth was weak and dying. Every day he had to act like humanity was about to give up. Captain Lisa Wells walked over to him. She was his best officer, and one of the few people who knew the truth. Lisa held a small device in her hand. The screen showed numbers and codes that meant nothing to most people. But Jake knew what they meant. They were messages from the hidden fleet. "Sir, we're getting signals from all the bases," Lisa said quietly. "The Saturn group is ready. The asteroid belt units are powered up. Even the deep space stations are online." Jake nodded. He had spent the last 3 years building the biggest lie in galactic history. The alien races thought humans were finished. The bug-like Zephyrins believed Earth had only a few broken ships left. The crystal beings called the Vexstar thought humanity would be gone within a year. The energy creatures known as the Luminar had already started dividing up human space among themselves. They were all wrong. The truth was that Earth had been building ships in secret for decades. While the aliens thought humans were struggling to fix their old vessels, Earth was actually constructing the most advanced fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Ships were hidden behind moons, inside asteroids, and in the dark spaces between stars. Over 2,000 warships waited for Jake's command. "Admiral, incoming message from the Galactic Council," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station. Amy was young but smart. She had been Earth's representative to the Council for 2 years. Like Jake, she had to lie every single day. "Put it on screen," Jake said. The image showed a large chamber filled with different alien species. At the center stood High Counselor Zexthera, a tall crystal being that sparkled with blue light. Next to her was General Crystal, a Zephyron that looked like a giant mantis with metal parts attached to his body. The third leader was Lumseth, a being made of pure energy that changed colors as it spoke. "Humans of Earth," Zexthera's voice was like breaking glass. "The Galactic Council has made its final decision. Your species has proven too weak to survive in our galaxy. You will surrender all your remaining colonies to the Zephyrin Empire.
Ow.
Your people will serve as workers under Zephyrin rule." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. This was the moment he had been waiting for. The aliens had finally pushed too far. General Crystal stepped forward. His bug eyes glowed with satisfaction. "Human Admiral Morrison, you have 3 of your weak days to move your people off the colony worlds. After that, we will remove them ourselves. You have no choice. Your pathetic fleet cannot stop us." Lumseth's energy form pulsed with different colors. The Luminar Collective agrees with this decision. "Humans are too primitive to own planets. We will take your industrial worlds for ourselves." Jake looked at Lisa. She gave him a small nod. It was time. "Honored council members," Jake said, making his voice sound tired and defeated. "Earth accepts your terms. We will begin moving our people immediately. Ask only for time to gather our families and possessions." The aliens looked pleased. Zexthera's crystal body glowed brighter. "You show wisdom and surrender, human. Perhaps some of your species will survive under our rule." "One more thing," Jake added. "We'd like to bring our remaining ships to Earth for the evacuation. We need all our transport vessels to move our people." "Agreed," Crystal said quickly. "Bring all your ships to Earth. It will make our job easier when we destroy them." The communication ended. The bridge was silent for a moment. Then Jake smiled for the first time in months. "Lisa, send the activation codes to all units," he said. "Full power to every ship. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can really do." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "Sending codes now, sir." "The fleet will be ready in 6 hours." Jake walked to the big window again. Out there in the darkness, his ships were waking up. For 3 years, thousands of human crew members had lived in secret bases, waiting for this moment. They had trained in simulators, practiced their attacks, and prepared for the day when they could stop hiding. The aliens thought they were destroying the last human fleet. Instead, they were about to face the largest military force in galactic history. "Amy, prepare a message to all human colonies," Jake said. "Tell them to get ready. Tell them the waiting is over." Amy nodded and began typing. Jake knew that across human space, people were holding their breath. Children had grown up hearing stories about the hidden fleet. Adults had wondered if the stories were true. Now they would find out. The Guardian's engines began to hum louder. The old ship was getting ready to move. Soon, she would join the real fleet. Soon, the galaxy would learn that humans were not weak prey animals. They were predators who had been hiding in the dark, waiting for the right moment to strike. Jake looked at his watch. In 5 hours and 57 minutes, the greatest deception in galactic history would end. The aliens wanted to see Earth's fleet. Jake would show them every single ship, all 2,037 of them. Commander Ryan Hayes sat in the dark control room deep inside Asteroid Belt Station Alpha. For 2 years, he had pretended to run a simple mining operation. Ships came and went, carrying what looked like metal, or the alien inspection teams saw exactly what they expected to see: humans, now digging rocks out of space. They never looked close enough to see the truth. Ryan pressed a button on his control panel. Red lights began flashing throughout the station. The message was simple: "Wake up, it's time." "All hands, this is Commander Hayes." Ryan spoke into his microphone. "Operation Sunrise is now active. Repeat, Operation Sunrise is active. All ships prepare for launch." Round him, his crew began moving quickly. "Ow!" Lieutenant Pete Williams ran to the weapons station. Chief Engineer Carol Davis started bringing the main engines online. Navigation Officer Tony Brooks began plotting courses to Earth. But the biggest change was happening. Outside the station, what looked like a simple mining platform began to transform. Fake rock panels slid away to reveal massive launch bays. The mining ships that had been coming and going were not carrying ore at all. They had been bringing weapons, fuel, and crew members to the secret fleet hidden inside the asteroid. Ryan watched his main screen as ship after ship emerged from hidden docks. The UES Phoenix led the way, followed by the UES Thunder and the UES Storm. These were not the weak, broken vessels the aliens expected. These ships were sleek, powerful, and deadly. "Sir, we have 47 ships ready for launch," reported Williams. "The second wave will be ready in 20 minutes. Ryan nodded. 47 ships from just one hidden base. The aliens thought humans had maybe 20 ships total in the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, near Jupiter's moon Europa, Captain Nicole Davis was having her own awakening. The research station she commanded had been studying the ice moon for 3 years. At least, that's what the official report said. "Begin Phase 2, transformation," Nicole ordered. The research station began to change. What had looked like simple buildings and landing pads revealed itself as something much more impressive. The ice around the station cracked and fell away. Underneath was a massive shipyard that had been carved into Europa's surface. "Captain, all ships report ready," said her second-in-command, Lieutenant Mark Johnson. "The entire Jupiter group is online." Nicole watched as 63 warships rose from their hidden docks. These ships had been built in secret, piece by piece, over the last 5 years. Every component had been disguised as scientific equipment. Every worker had believed they were building research tools. The UES Lightning was the first to clear Europa's thin atmosphere. Behind it came the UES Hammer, the UES Sword, and dozens of others. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, built with technology the aliens had never seen. At the same time, near Saturn's rings, Commander Steve Parker was bringing his own surprise online. His fleet had been the hardest to hide. 68 ships had been anchored inside Saturn's rings, using the ice and rock as cover. For 3 years, they had drifted silently, waiting. "All ships, this is Commander Parker," Steve announced. "Light them up." One by one, the hidden vessels powered up their engines. The rings of Saturn began to glow as dozens of fusion drives came online. What had looked like natural ice formations revealed themselves as human warships. The UES Titan emerged first, its massive bulk dwarfing the ice chunks around it. The UES Comet followed, then the UES Meteor. Each ship had been designed for a specific purpose. Some were fast attack vessels. Others were heavy bombardment platforms. A few were massive carriers that held hundreds of fighter craft back on Earth. In the hidden command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Lucy Adams watched all of this happen on her screens. She had been the architect of the Great Deception. Every fake defeat, every staged retreat, every plea for mercy had been her idea. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from all sectors," said Colonel Dan Foster, her aide.
"How?"
"The fleets are coming online. Faster than expected. We'll have full deployment in 3 hours instead of 6. Lucy smiled. 3 years of careful planning were paying off. The aliens thought they were forcing humanity to gather its pathetic remaining ships at Earth for destruction. Instead, they were about to face the largest fleet in galactic history. "What about the deep space stations?" Lucy asked. Colonel Foster checked his reports. "Station Omega reports ready. Station Beta is bringing weapons online now. Station Gamma will be ready in 45 minutes.
Hey, the deep space stations
Were Lucy's masterpiece. They had been disguised as research outposts, so far from any star, that no alien patrol would bother checking them. Each station commanded a fleet of stealth ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Across the solar system, the awakening continued. Behind Mars, Commander Joe Turner's fleet powered up their cloaking devices and began moving toward Earth, near Venus. Captain Sarah Mitchell led her squadron of fast attack ships into formation. Even in the outer reaches of the solar system, beyond Pluto, listening posts were revealing themselves to be fully armed battle stations. The aliens monitoring human space began to notice something was wrong. Energy readings that should have been impossible were appearing everywhere. Ships that had never been seen before were moving toward Earth. On the bridge of the Zephyron command ship, General Crixtal stared at his screens in confusion. "What? Are all these energy signatures?" he demanded. His aide, a smaller bug creature named Vexk, checked the readings twice. "Sir, we're detecting massive power sources throughout the human system. It looks like, like, they have hundreds of ships." Crixtal mandibles clicked together angrily. "Possible. Our intelligence says they have less than 30 vessels total." But the evidence was right there on their screens. Energy signatures were blooming throughout human space like flowers in spring. Ships were appearing from behind planets, emerging from asteroid fields and decloaking in empty space. High Counselor Zexathara received the same reports in her crystal ship. Her body flickered with confused colors as she tried to understand what she was seeing. "How many ships do the humans actually have?" she asked her science officer. The officer, a small crystal being named Rickstar, ran the numbers 3 times before, answering, "Based on current energy readings, at least 2,000 vessels, possibly more." Zexthera's crystal form went completely dark for a moment. 2,000 ships. The humans had claimed to have fewer than 50. How was this possible? The answer was simple, though none of the aliens understood it yet. Humans were very good at lying. They were even better at building things in secret. They were absolutely excellent at making their enemies underestimate them. The galaxy was about to learn all 3 of these lessons the hard way. Captain Ben Tucker stood on the bridge of the UES Darwin as his ship moved through space in a way that should have been impossible. One moment the Darwin was visible, solid, and real. The next moment it seemed to fade away like smoke. Then it appeared again, but in a completely different place. "Phase drive working perfectly, Captain," reported his chief engineer, Maria Santos. "We can shift in and out of normal space every 3 seconds. Ben watched the alien fleet ahead of them, and the Vexstar crystal ships were firing their energy weapons at empty space, trying to hit targets that were no longer there.
Every time they
Locked onto a human ship, it would vanish and appear somewhere else. "Fire weapons," Ben ordered. The Darwin appeared behind a Vexstar cruiser and unleashed a full barrage. The alien ship's crystal hull cracked and shattered. Before the other aliens could respond, the Darwin vanished again. This was humanity's first big secret. While the aliens thought humans were struggling with basic space travel, Earth scientists had actually discovered how to move ships between dimensions. No alien weapon could hit a target that wasn't fully in their reality. "Sir, the Phoenix is reporting successful attacks on 3 more enemy vessels," said Lieutenant Kevin Walsh from the communications station. "The enemy can't adapt to our phase technology." Ben smiled. The aliens had made their first mistake. They thought superior numbers would win this fight. But numbers meant nothing if you couldn't hit your target. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battle, Commander Derek Stone was dealing with a different kind of problem. His ship, the UES Defender, was under attack by a full squadron of Zephyrin fighters. The bug ships were fast and carried powerful plasma weapons that could melt through normal armor in seconds, but Derek's ship wasn't using normal armor. "Hull adapting to plasma frequency," reported his science officer, Lieutenant Janet Moore. Switching to full reflection mode, the Defender's hull began to change. What had been dark metal became mirror bright. When the Zephyrin plasma bolts hit the ship, they bounced off like light hitting a mirror. The reflected shots struck other Zephyron fighters, destroying them with their own weapons. "Now switching to absorption mode," Janet announced. The hull changed again, becoming black as space itself. The next wave of plasma shots didn't bounce off. Instead, the ship's hull drank them up like a sponge. The energy from the alien weapons was converted into power for the Defender's own systems. Derek watched his power levels climb. "Fire all weapons," he ordered. The Defender's guns blazed with twice their normal power. Using energy stolen from the enemy's own attacks, 6 Zephyrin fighters exploded in quick succession. This was humanity's second secret. Earth's materials scientists had created smart armor that could change its properties instantly. The aliens had spent centuries perfecting their weapons too, work against known defenses. They had never imagined armor that could become anything it needed to be. In another part of the battle, Captain Ellen Rodriguez was facing the strangest attack of all. The Luminar Collective had sent their consciousness warriors against her ship, the UES Pioneer. Its energy beings tried to attack by invading the minds of human crew members. But something was wrong. The Luminor attacks were having no effect at all. "Mental shields holding at 100%, reported Dr. Frank Miller, the ship's medical officer. "The crew is completely protected." Ellen nodded. This was humanity's third secret. While the aliens thought humans were primitive, Earth's neuroscientists had actually mapped the human brain completely. They had developed implants that could block any kind of mental attack. "The Luminar are trying to break through our defenses," Frank continued. "But our neural shields are adapting to each new attack pattern. They're actually making us stronger." The Luminar energy beings were finding it impossible to understand. For thousands of years, they had conquered other species by taking control of their minds. But human minds were locked away behind barriers they couldn't break. "All human vessels." "This is Admiral Morrison," came a voice over the communications system. "Execute Battle Plan Delta. All ships advance." Across the battlefield, the human fleet began to move as one. But this wasn't just coordination. This was something far more impressive. The artificial intelligence called Atlas was controlling the movement of every human ship at the same time. Atlas could process information faster than any biological brain. It could coordinate the actions of 2,000 ships as easily as a human could move their own fingers. While alien fleets needed hours to plan complex maneuvers, Atlas could adapt to changing battle conditions in milliseconds. When 3 Vexter ships tried to surround the UES Thunder, Atlas had already moved 5 other human ships to intercept them. When a group of Zephyron fighters attempted a surprise attack, Atlas had prepared a trap using ships the aliens didn't even know were there. Captain Tony Miller, commanding the U.S. Sword, watched this coordination in amazement. "It's like we're all parts of the same creature," he told his crew. "Atlas knows where every enemy ship is and what it's going to do before it does it." The aliens were learning a hard lesson about human warfare. Humans didn't just build better ships, they built better ways of using them. General Crickstal, watching from his command ship, was beginning to understand how badly the Zephyrin Empire had miscalculated. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our ships are superior. Our weapons are more powerful. Our pilots have more experience." His aide Vexk studied the battle data. "Sir, I think the humans have been hiding more than just ships. Their technology is unlike anything we've seen. They can disappear and reappear at will. Their armor changes to counter our weapons. Our mental attacks don't work on them at all." Crixtal's compound eyes focused on the main screen. He watched a human ship phase through a Zephyron destroyer, appear on the other side, and destroy it with a single shot. This is impossible. No species advances this quickly. But Crixtal was wrong. When humans were threatened, they didn't just fight harder, they fought smarter. Every alien attack over the past few years had been studied, analyzed, and countered. Human scientists had worked day and night to develop new technologies. Human engineers had built weapons the galaxy had never imagined. The aliens had thought they were fighting primitive humans with crude weapons. Instead, they were facing the most advanced military force in galactic history. High Counselor Zexthara was reaching the same conclusion on her crystal ship. "Order all vessels to retreat," she commanded. "We need to regroup and understand what we're facing." But even retreat was becoming difficult. Human ships were appearing everywhere, cutting off escape routes and forcing alien vessels into smaller. In smaller groups, the galaxy was about to learn that humans were not just good at hiding, they were also very good at winning. News of the human fleet's true power spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On the crystal world of Vextera Prime, millions of crystal beings watched their news broadcasts in shock. The species they had dismissed as weak primitives had just destroyed half of their most powerful fleet in a single battle. High Counselor. The Zextheris image flickered on screens throughout Vextera space. Her crystal body was dim with fear and confusion. "The humans have deceived us all," she announced. "They are not the dying race we believed them to be. They are more dangerous than any species we have ever encountered." The reaction was immediate. Panic spread through the crystal cities like cracks in ice. Some Vextar wanted to surrender immediately, as others demanded revenge. Most just wanted to hide until the crisis passed, but the chaos was even worse in Zephyrin space. The insect-like creatures had built their entire empire on the belief that they were the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Now they faced an enemy that made their own military look like children playing with toys. General Crixtal stood before the Zephyrin War Council, his mandibles clicking nervously. "The humans must be destroyed," he declared. "We will gather every ship from every world. We will call back all our fleets from the outer colonies. Every Zephyrin warrior will join this fight." The War Council agreed. Within hours, messages went out across the Zephyrin Empire. Every available ship was ordered to assemble for the largest military operation in their history. They would throw everything they had at Earth and end the human threat forever. Meanwhile, on worlds throughout the galaxy, other species were making different choices. The peaceful Helix Confederation held an emergency meeting of their ruling circle. Elder Softsong, their leader, spoke to representatives from 100 worlds. "The humans have shown us that strength does not always look like strength," Softsong said in her melodic voice. "Perhaps it is time we chose our allies more carefully." Captain Ellen Rodriguez received the first diplomatic message from the Helix while her ship, the Use Pioneer, was patrolling near Neptune. The message was simple but important. The Helix Confederation wishes to discuss friendship with humanity. Ellen smiled as she read the message. The plan was working. The humans had never wanted to conquer the galaxy. They just wanted to survive. But to survive, they needed allies. In reply, Ellen told her communications officer, "Tell them we welcome all friends of peace." Similar messages began arriving from dozens of smaller species. The aquatic collective from the water worlds wanted protection from Zephyron raiders. The silicon mines, artificial intelligences from the robot worlds were curious about human technology. Even some individual Vexter colonies were secretly asking if they could switch sides. But not everyone wanted peace. The Luminor Collective was perhaps the most disturbed by humanity's mental defenses. For the first time in their existence, they had encountered minds they could not control. Lumseth, speaking for the collective, sent a message to every species in the galaxy. The humans are a plague that will spread across all worlds. Their minds cannot be touched by higher consciousness. They must be eliminated before they corrupt others with their independence. The Luminor began their own campaign, trying to turn species against humanity through fear and manipulation. Whispered in the minds of leaders across the galaxy, planting thoughts of terror and hatred. Admiral Pete Collins, commanding the outer system defenses from his flagship UES Fortress, watched the galaxy tear itself apart on his strategic displays. "It's working exactly as we planned," he told his staff. "The galaxy is choosing sides." Colonel Matt Johnson, coordinating planetary defenses on Mars, received daily reports about the growing chaos. "Sir, we're getting requests for protection from 47 different species," he reported to Admiral Collins. "Some of them are offering to share technology in exchange for defense agreements. This had always been part of the human plan. They knew that revealing their strength would force every species to make a choice. Some would try to destroy humanity out of fear. Others would seek alliance out of wisdom. The galaxy would split, and in that splitting, humanity would find the allies it needed to survive. On Earth itself, Governor Jane Foster was dealing with a different kind of chaos. Human colonies across the galaxy were sending panicked messages. Some were excited that the secret was finally out. Others were terrified of alien revenge. "Governo, the new Texas colony, is requesting immediate evacuation," reported her aide, Captain Bob Turner. "They're afraid the Zephyrins will attack them." In retaliation, Jane shook her head. "Tell them evacuation won't be necessary. Send them the defense package instead." The defense package was another human secret. Every human colony had hidden weapons and shields, just like the fleet. Civilian settlements that looked peaceful and defenseless were actually fortified military bases. Even human farmers had been secretly trained as soldiers. The Zephyrons were about to learn this lesson the hard way. Their first revenge attack came against the human colony on Kepler Prime. A full Zephyron battle group descended on what they thought was a helpless farming world. Instead, they found weapon platforms rising from wheat fields, defense satellites, uncloaked in orbit. The farmers themselves took up military gear and fought with the skill of trained soldiers. The battle was over in 6 hours. Not a single human civilian died, but the entire Zephyron attack force was destroyed. News of the Kepler Prime defense spread across human space like wildfire. Colonists who had been afraid began to stand up straighter. Remembered that they were not just farmers and miners and traders. They were humans, and humans did not give up. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. Deep in space, far from any star, the Luminar Collective was gathering for their own attack. They planned to strike directly at human minds, bypassing all physical defenses. What they didn't know was that Dr. Angela Hayes, working in a secret laboratory on Titan, had been preparing for exactly this kind of assault. She had developed something the Luminar could never expect, a way for humans to fight. Back in the realm of pure thought, the galaxy was about to discover that human minds were not just defended. When threatened, they could become weapons themselves. As reports flowed in from across known space, one thing became clear. The old galactic order was finished. Some species would survive the coming storm by choosing the right side. Others would fall because they chose poorly. But whatever happened next, the galaxy would never again underestimate the strange, clever, dangerous species called humanity. The final battle began at the edge of the solar system, where Pluto's cold orbit marked the boundary of human space. General Crixtal had gathered every Zephyrin ship in the galaxy. Over 8,000 vessels filled the darkness, more firepower than had ever been assembled in galactic history. Supporting them were 3,000 Vexstar crystal ships, their hulls glowing with deadly energy. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the UES Sovereign. Unlike the old Guardian, this ship showed humanity's true power. It was massive, sleek, and bristling with weapons that could destroy planets. Around it, the human fleet had assembled in perfect formation, Enemy fleet detected at maximum range, reported Captain Lisa Wells, now his fleet tactical officer. 8,000 Zephyron vessels, 3,000 Vexstar ships. They're moving directly toward Earth. Jake nodded calmly. The aliens had brought everything they had. It wasn't enough. Captain Tony Miller, take your squadron and hit their left flank, Jake ordered. Commander Grace Allen, your carriers will provide fighter support. All ships execute Battle Plan Omega. The human fleet moved like a single organism. Ships phased in and out of normal space, appearing behind enemy vessels before vanishing again. Fighters launched from hidden carriers that had been disguising themselves as asteroids. Weapons platforms that looked like space junk suddenly came alive with devastating firepower. But this battle was different from the earlier fights. Aliens had learned from their defeats. Crixtal had studied the human tactics and prepared counters. His ships stayed in tight formations to prevent human phase attacks. His fighters moved in unpredictable patterns to avoid the human AI predictions. For 6 hours, the battle raged across the outer solar system. Ships on both sides were destroyed. Human vessels took damage despite their advanced armor. Swarm tactics began to work. Overwhelming isolated human ships with pure numbers, Captain Ben Tucker watched from the Darwin. His 3 human destroyers exploded under concentrated alien fire. Admiral, we're taking heavy losses, he reported. The enemy has adapted to our phase technology. Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. He could win this battle by using humanity's most powerful weapons. The planet killer missiles were ready. The antimatter bombs could vaporize entire fleets. Earth had weapons that could destroy star systems, but using them would make humanity no better than the aliens they were fighting. All ships implement Mercy Protocol, Jake announced. Disable enemy vessels when possible. Target weapons and engines, not crew sections. Across the human fleet, weapons officer adjusted their targeting systems. Instead of trying to destroy alien ships completely, they began precise strikes that left the vessels helpless but intact. It was harder, more dangerous, and cost more. Human lives, but it was the right thing to do. The aliens noticed the change immediately. Human ships that could have destroyed them were instead leaving them floating helplessly in space. Crixtal stared at his tactical display in confusion. Why aren't they finishing us? He demanded. They could destroy our entire fleet, but they're just disabling our ships. His aide Vex was equally puzzled. Sir, it's almost like they don't want to kill us. They're trying to win without destroying us. Meanwhile, in the realm of pure thought, another battle was taking place. The Luminar Collective had launched their mental assault, trying to take control of human minds directly. Dr. Angela Hayes had prepared for this moment her entire career. Mental defense grid activated, she announced from her control center on Titan. All human minds are now linked through the neural network. What the Luminar found was not individual human minds they could conquer one by one. Instead, they faced a collective human consciousness that was stronger than any single being. When they tried to break into one human mind, they encountered the combined will of all humanity. But Dr. Hayes had prepared more than just defense. Initiating consciousness. Projection, she declared. Show them what human compassion looks like. Instead of fighting the Luminar with violence, the human mental network began projecting emotions the energy beings had never experienced. They showed them human love, human sacrifice, human hope. They shared memories of humans helping strangers, protecting the weak, and choosing mercy over revenge. For the first time in their existence, the Luminar experienced what it meant to care about others. The sensation was so overwhelming that many of them simply stopped fighting and began to wonder if they had been wrong about everything. Back in the physical battle, the tide was turning. The human fleet's mercy was confusing the aliens, but it was also inspiring some of them. Individual Vexstar ships began to surrender rather than fight. Some Zephyron pilots started questioning why they were fighting at all. Crixtal realized his fleet was falling apart. All ships, retreat to safe distance, he ordered. We need to regroup. But Jake Morrison had one more surprise. Open a communication. Channel 2, all alien vessels, he commanded. His image appeared on screens throughout both fleets. General Crixtal, High Counselor Zexera, all forces of the Galactic Council. This is Admiral Morrison of the Human Defense Fleet. I'm offering you a choice? Crixtal's mandibles clicked nervously. What kind of choice? We can continue this war until one of us is completely destroyed, Jake said. Or we can work together to build something better. Humanity doesn't want to rule the galaxy. Just want to be part of it? On the Vexstar command ship, Zexthara's crystal body flickered with uncertain colors. You could destroy us all right now, why don't you? Jake smiled. Because destroying you wouldn't make the galaxy safer. It would just make us the new tyrants. We'd rather have you as neighbors than as corpses. The offer spread across the alien. Fleets like ripples in water. Ship after ship began to power down their weapons. Entire squadrons started moving away from combat positions. Crixtal stared at his screens for a long moment. His species had never been offered mercy by a stronger enemy. The concept was almost impossible for him to understand. What are your terms? No terms, Jake replied. Just a chance to start over. And the old Galactic Council is finished.
Right.
But maybe we can build something new together. Something where decisions are made by wisdom instead of fear. 3 months later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on a neutral space station near Earth. The new Galactic Federation held its first meeting with humans as founding members. Species that had been enemies for centuries sat at the same table. Admiral Morrison addressed the assembly from the podium. We're here because we learned that being strong means protecting others, not conquering them. The galaxy is big enough for all of us, in the audience. Former enemies sat side by side. Zexthara represented the Vexstar worlds that had chosen peace. Even some Zephyrin colonies had sent delegates, though Crixtal himself had refused to attend. The Luminar Collective had undergone the biggest change of all. Experiencing human emotions had transformed them. They now worked to spread understanding instead of control, helping species communicate across the barriers of different forms of consciousness. As Jake looked out at the assembled representatives, he realized that humanity's greatest victory wasn't military at all. They had won something more valuable than any battle. They had won the chance to build a better galaxy for everyone. The Hidden Fleet had caused Galactic Uproar, just as the title promised. But from that chaos had come something unexpected. Hope for a future where strength served peace instead of conquest.